Well, I'm delighted to be here with all of you, and especially to be with you here again, Dr. Suhas. Thank you so much for the donation of your time and your wisdom to benefit our learners at the American College of Vedic Astrology. So, but I would like for the few people that may be here that somehow don't know who Dr. Suhas is. Let me just clue you in that he's a rock star of Ayurveda in the West. Now that's my terminology. He would never say that about himself, but let's be honest. So, as I mentioned Dr. Suhas, that's not his real name. His real name is Dr. Suhas Kshirsagar. And I hope that's some close approximation to the correct pronunciation of your name. But he's also a MD in Ayurveda, well, as you may imagine, and you have a special designation, BAMS. Sir, I have to admit, I don't know what that is, but maybe you can tell us about this in the course of your presentation. But Dr. Suhas, again, as he's popularly known, now that he's a friend of ours, is a classically trained Ayurvedic physician with over 30 years in clinical experience. He's a medical astrologer who blends Jyotish and Ayurveda to work with his clients. He was awarded the Jyotish Prihaspati Award and also bestowed by ACPA the Jyotish Navaratna Award for his service in the field of Jyotish. These are significant accomplishments, by the way. So he's also, on top of all that, a best-selling author and a motivational speaker and an international acclaimed educator in the field of Ayurveda and integrative medicine. He travels around the globe speaking and popularizing Ayurveda, yoga, meditation, and other natural integrative medicines. So he's also spent apparently he's got some time to spare after all that activity to formulate some very successful herbal products that have been very popular and effective. And of course, you may have found him previously on popular podcasts and radio and TV shows and all media. And then finally, as if that weren't enough, he's the advisor to the Chopra Center and the director of Ayurvedic Healing Incorporated. And so we're particularly grateful for you offering your time to us today, Dr. Suhas, on this really timely message of how to take care of our health in these precarious times. So without any further ado, I'd like to turn the screen over to you and thank you and welcome, Dr. Suhas.
Perfect. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you for that mouthful of introduction.
Well, yes.
And you pronounced my name absolutely right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen with you, and I hope you can see what I have on my screen, and I'll do it the full screen so that you can see everything what I have. So I just wanted to confirm that you are able to hear me and see my screen clearly without any problem or glitches. I will go through with my presentation first, and then we'll have some time for some Q&A. Does that sound okay, Charlotte? You can all see me and hear me okay? No issues?
I can, and I presume everybody else can too. I haven't seen anything to the contrary. That's a beautiful picture and your lovely voice. So we're good to go, I think.
Perfect. So namaste. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm not sure where you are, but on behalf of American College of Vedic Astrology and Ayurvedic Healing, I welcome all of you to this wonderful expression of Vedic wisdom. And especially today, on this very, very auspicious day of Vijayadashmi, which is often celebrated in many parts of the world as the victory day, the victory of righteousness over any evil of any kind. It is the victory of Rama over Ravana. It is the celebration of being victorious, the victory of Dharma. So I'm really, really happy to be sharing this wonderful day, which is one of the most auspicious muhurtas in Vedic calendar. Since you're all Jyotishis, this is the day where any new beginning, any new venture that you create a sankalpa for is going to stay with you, and it's going to help you grow and prosper just because of that. So I thought, what a wonderful day to share with you the pillars of health, because we all get very busy with our lives, and it is an important reminder, because not only it is an important reminder for yourself, for your own personal and individual health of yourself and your family, but more importantly, so many clients that you touch their lives. They believe in what you tell you, what you tell them. And more importantly, they are there to receive an advice. And I think I would like to draw all of your attention to this very important aspect of looking at your own individual health and making some right changes at the right time. Before we get there and get started, I would like to do a short Vedic invocation to celebrate the day today. It is also the day of Saraswati, where we do a puja for all of our books and manuals and instruments and things like that. So we'll do a little invocation of Dhanvantari and all the gods and goddesses, and then we'll get started for this wonderful talk. So allow yourselves to be centered, quiet, present. This is the moment you have. There's no past and there's no future. Time and space is an illusion anyway. So just allow yourselves to be present. Ya kundendu tushar har dhavala, ya shubhra vastra vrita, ya veena varadanda manditakara, ya shveta padmasana, ya brahmachuta shankara prabhutivir devai sada vandita, samam patu saraswati bhagavati निःशेषजाड्यापः यस्य निश्वस्तं वेदाः वेदेभ्यो अखिलं जगत् निर्ममे तमहं वन्दे विद्यातीर्थमहेश्वरम्. हरि ओम. शांति शांति शांति. Namaste. And once again, I welcome all of you for this talk about decoding pillars of health. And what we're going to talk about is something very interesting, because it is all about your individual health and health as a tool to achieve whatever you want to achieve in life. There's an age-old Vedic saying that we talk about dharmartha kama mokshanam arogyam moolam uttamam. Whether you want to do your dharma, whether you want to earn the artha or the wealth, or you want to fulfill your sensory desires, fulfill your karma, or you are on the pursuit towards moksha or enlightenment. No matter what the purpose or the goal in your life is, health is the basis of everything. So understanding the pillars of health and going about to really help you understand. These are some of my books that you might have seen. The last one and the latest one is Change Your Schedule, Change Your Life, which is all about how busy we get, and sometimes we sacrifice our health. And one of the premise that I wrote this book, because I asked question to many of the busy IT professionals in the Bay Area here in the Silicon Valley, is your schedule killing you? And the answer was overwhelmingly yes. And we need to go back and start looking at what we do every day, since we open our eyes in the morning till we close our eyes in the evening, that how much time do you devote for your mind, for your body, and for your spiritual experience. There's an interesting book that I co-authored with Vamadev Shastri, David Frawley, which was The Art and Science of Vedic Counselling. And it's an interesting book, and we'll talk a little bit more about it also, because it is also to understand that Jyotish is not just a consultation that you are doing a fortune reading thing, but it's more importantly, you're really going to counsel them from a Vedantic perspective to really help them understand the challenges of life and the philosophy of life, and how you should lead them through the quagmire of life more effectively. And so it might be interesting for you to take a look at these books. But where we are right now, we are facing this pandemic. We are facing this pandemic, and this pandemic that we are currently having, it is making so many people unhappy, stuck, stagnant, blocked, depressed, angry. And we are going through a political turmoil on top of that. So all of this has made so many people kind of restless. And I do so many sessions every day, which are now virtual sessions, teleconsultations, that people are worried about not only what is happening in the world, but what is happening in their body. And this is high time for us to really understand that the world is my family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is an age-old Vedic paradigm which tells that your macrocosm and microcosm are interacting together, are pulsating and vibrating together. So what happens to you happens to the planet Earth, and what goes in the planet Earth will invariably affect you. And especially in the light of this pandemic, where Ayurveda and many of the Vedic sciences are actually given one simple definition of why this pandemic actually happens from time to time. And there's an interesting term in Sanskrit for these pandemic, which is called as Janapadodhvansa Vyadhis. Janapadodhvansa means which can wipe out scores and scores of humanity. That is called as the pandemic, or Janapadodhvansa Vyadhi. And the causative factors are derangement in the qualities of Udakam, which is water, Vayu, which is air, Desham, which is land or soil, and Kala, which is time. So the changes, the fluctuations, the derangements in the qualitative degradation of air, water, soil, and time is the reason for Janapadodhvansa Vyadhi. Is our planet telling us? Because we used to talk about global warming, but what we know in medicine right now, the biggest epidemic that we have is the epidemic of inflammation. The bodies that we have as patients and clients are inflamed physically, mentally, emotionally. And that inflammation is absolutely synonymous to the global warming that you're talking about. So as Jyotishis, we look at our planet Earth as looking at the rest of the sky. But as we understand that how we live as humanity, as a collective consciousness of human beings, affect the qualities of air, fire, water, earth, and space, all of it together. So understanding and restoring, and very painfully we are realizing during these unprecedented times that your health depends upon my health. If you are healthy and happy, I will be healthy and happy. So this whole model that we are painfully realizing right now, which is planetary health made very personal because of this very tiny microbe that we're talking about as COVID-19. You're talking about physical, emotional, social, economical, political, everything is kind of churned, not only in this country, but all around the world. We are talking about interdependence of all the different systems and cultures all melting together, fusing together, and a new world order might be created because of this. And that is when we often see that the lack of dharma or the degradation of dharma can lead to the way of a dharmic order, as we say. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam hi dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. That's what Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. When there's a glani, when the dharma is not able to function because of various reasons, that's when the incarnation of Krishna happens in order to revive and re-establish the worldly order. And it could be numerous form, and this could be an interesting form that we are looking at. And I want you to understand that this pandemic is a good opportunity to grow. During these times, how we counsel people, how we talk to people is very important. Because in Western medicine, we know a lot about what are the causes of disease. We don't know enough about what are the causes of health. What makes us healthy? What are the bases that you are taking care of yourself properly? And I often tell my patients to ask 3 questions to yourself every night before you sleep. When you hit your head to the pillow, ask yourself 3 simple questions. What did you do for your body that made it feel good? Did you eat good foods? Did you got enough exercise? Did you optimize the circulation? What did you do for your mind? What did you do to make your mind happy? Anything fun, some kind of a hobby, or you said some nice things to someone, you made someone's life a little bit happier. And what did you do for your spiritual self? What did you find time for quietude, for your inner reflection, for meditation? If you are positively answering all the 3 questions every day, I bet you're keeping all the 3 things in balance. And I think it is very important because our health is our individual domain. It is something that you do every day. That is your full-time job, to take good care of your physical health. What you do on an everyday basis is so important. And that's the reason we can use Jyotish, we can use Ayurveda, you can use, say, Vastu or anything else, any modality that you practice. But the new emerging paradigm is clearly wellness. Everyone wants to be healthy and eventually happy. And you as Jyotishis, I would want you to have a renewed focus on the model of wellness. The new age medicine that we're talking about through integrative medicine, functional medicine, is consciousness based, is helping people understand, elevating their states of awareness and consciousness, and ultimately becoming healthy. Because health, from a Vedic Ayurvedic perspective, is the byproduct of enlightenment. Health is the byproduct of enlightenment. And the very basis of Ayurveda, the very basis of Ayurveda, or the motto of Ayurveda, is Ayurveda Amritana, Ayurveda for immortality, something which helps you understand your immortal self. And what you do for this: organic living, green revolution, sustainable living, and the techniques that you use for counseling has to be life encompassing. It has to be the bigger part of life. And that's why we look at the dashas and the mahadashas and the starting point of their nakshatra, how it started. And then you look at that, you look at, with the imperfections, with the limitations, with the good or bad chart that you're looking at. But it doesn't have to be that every little thing has to be in a punitive way to be explained or to be expressed. It has to be encouraging. People should feel hope. And if they develop some mutual trust and faith in your abilities, and you believe in their abilities to follow what you're trying to tell them, because their unhappiness, whether we talk about in the name of Saturn or in the name of Rahu or Ketu or Sadesati or anything else, it is affecting the quality of their stress levels in life. Financial distress, relationship, jobs, addictions, personality challenges, all of that coming together, we see that in the person. We see that in the person. And the most important point I would like to highlight through this webinar today is to really understand that it's not who they are, how they think, what choices they make, what their behavior has become, but it gets ingrained at a genetic level, because you turn on certain genetic switches because of how you think and behave and act, and you turn off the healthier ones, which actually creates more and more imbalances. So the $1 million statement that I heard way early in my life from my teacher was that the planets really affect you very strongly, very intensely when you are in the field of Maya. When you are in a state of ignorance or illusion, the intensity of the planets harming you and affecting you is much more stronger. The moment you start living a little bit of an awakened or enlightened life, then the edges of the planets coming and going and affecting and hurting you in a good or bad way becomes a bit soft and gentle. They'll still come and go, but you become a little bit more immune to this. And I think that's what we are trying to discuss here. We are trying to understand the emotional burden, what they have, and reignite their life purpose and slow down consciously the high pace of life, which is creating many of these things. I often ask when I see people some very important lifestyle questions. And these are very simple questions, whether you are within 5 pounds of your ideal body weight. Do you exercise 30 minutes most of the days of the week, every day? Do you do 30 minutes of exercise? Are you eating plant-based whole food diet with at least 5 fruits and vegetables every day? You don't use any tobacco products, you don't smoke. You have less than 2 or fewer alcoholic drinks per day, less than 2 alcoholic beverages per day. And do you get about 7 to 8 hours of sleep most nights? And I'm not making this up. This is coming from American College of Lifestyle Medicine. And the survey says only 8% of all Americans say yes to all the 5 of them. So the rest, 92%, are your and my clients. They are the one that you need to talk to them, you need to help them, you need to fix them, you need to guide them. And more importantly, you need to help them prioritize their health. Because if you're not feeling healthy and happy, it'll affect the intensity of everything that is going on in your life significantly. And in fact, Ayurveda is the original lifestyle medicine. There's nothing more to this. It is the original lifestyle medicine. And what we are painfully realizing, it's not the genetics. It's all about the epigenetics. It's about the inner environment that is affected by the outer environment constantly. You cannot change the outer environment significantly, but you can change the way you react to that. Because your body is not a frozen model. It is like a flowing river. It's not a structure, it's a process. It needs to be constantly handled on an everyday basis. Your body itself is an energy information field, and your genes are not deterministic. You can program them and reprogram them the way you think, the way you behave, the way you act, where you put your attention and intention. You can change your brain structure, the science of neuroplasticity, neurogenesis. You need to change your awareness. That is very, very important, because it is the key. The mindfulness and awareness is the key to change and transform and reinvent your body. And in order to do that, you have to consciously find moments of silences and gap to change your relationship with time. Because even though time stands still, but sometimes it feels as if everything is running in a faster lane. And when we talk about health, when we are counseling people using their Jyotish chart, we have to go back to these 3 pillars of health. Trayopastambha, the stambhas on which life sustains and stands, is diet, sleep, and exercise. These are the pillars of health. And how do you find them? In a Jyotish chart to a certain extent, because there are certain astrological horoscope that you look at, which will make you very ignorant, which will make you very toxic, very dull, very lazy, very heavy. Too much of sleeping, not able to exercise, craving for bad foods, not getting what they want. The reason why I say these 3 pillars of health is if you are eating well, then you feel light and you have energy to exercise. And if you are staying active and you are doing physical movement, workout, exercise, then you are pleasantly tired in the night to get a good night's sleep. And if you get a good night's sleep and you wake up at the right time, then you have more awareness to eating well and exercising. So these all feed off each other. I actually wrote a book, not recently, but a few years ago, which became a bestseller, called as The Hot Belly Diet. The Hot Belly Diet, and when I was researching, I found 2 things that was wrong at that time. Number 1 was eat late to gain some weight. Eat late to gain some weight. And sleep late to gain some weight. So if you are eating late and sleeping late, both, 70% of the country was doing that, which is a prescription to gain weight. So if you don't eat late and you don't sleep late, I think is the first and a very powerful stride toward normalizing your health. So we'll be talking these three pillars today, and we're talking in the light of your zodiac signs and horoscope, because your planets and your health habits, you had to gently nudge through those things. And you as astrologers or counselors or even students of astrology understand that what yoga is more suitable for various zodiac signs. You look at the lagna, you look at the rashi. If there are these watery signs, if they are benefited by doing yoga in a heated room where they're sweating, they're releasing water, they're not feeling puffy or fluid retentive, that might be good for them. Or there are airy or ungrounded signs which needs more of a grounding yoga, simple hatha flow, yin yoga, those kind of things. Or the earthy signs that we talk about where we are creating more of an Ashtanga yoga style for them, or Anusara yoga. So you can actually select various yoga styles based upon their Lagna and Rashi. Same with pranayama. There are these quick breathing exercises. You can talk about them like Kapalbhati or Bhastrika, which are really, really good to release the heat, to create stimulation. So those are earthy signs, heavy signs, watery signs. They would need something which is much more of an energizing breath, I call it. And the other ones which need more grounding needs more sukha pranayama, more of a gentle pranayama. Some of the heating ones that we talk about could be Aries, could be Scorpio. You want something which is more of a cooling kind of a breath, like Shitali. So you can select pranayama also based upon your various zodiac signs, and especially exercise. That is also an important point, because what kind of signs you will give what kind of exercise prescription. Aerobic would be good. Slow, long distance would be really, really good for kaphagenic body types. Kaphagenic body types, slow, long distance would be really good. Strength training, something which is going to make them feel grounded and stable for vatagenic signs, which are more air predominant. Cardio, burst, high intensity interval training, those are really good for pittagenic personalities, to release the heat, to regain the strength. Competitive sports, weightlifting, weight training. You can actually select a whole slew of exercise things. It could be Tai Chi, it could be various forms of yoga, it could be CrossFit training. You can really understand what these exercises are and what are the most suitable ones that you can advise to someone. And what body types are suitable for even walking in the morning versus walking in the evening, exercising in the morning versus exercising in the evening. Or people do midday exercise, and that could be really awful for certain planetary types. So you look at the exercise types which are suitable for them. You also look at meditation styles, because certain meditation styles are much more intellectual. They need a lot of attention and concentration and focus, and not everybody looking at their Jyotish chart is suitable for those kind of focused attention. You want to come up with something which is more effortless, taking a mantra and releasing it in ether. So those mantra based practices are really good for air signs, I would say. But someone where you want to practice more of a stimulating, grounding kind of an exercise, you can create a walking meditation for a kapha body type, where they are walking, they are spending time, you are using forest bathing, you are sending them on a silent retreat. You can create a template based upon what is a suitable type of meditation retreat, exercise, practice that you can do for them. Diet and lifestyle modification. And I think that is very, very important, because people think and people are often confused with what is really good kind of a standard diet from the government side. You look at my plate, this much of protein, this much of fat, this much of carbohydrate, and it doesn't entail about everything else. Here you are, where we are zooming in and zooming in closer and closer and closer. We used to talk about the planetary types. We talked about the lagna types. We talk about the rashi types. We talk about the nakshatra types. We talk about the Ayurvedic mind-body type, the prakriti type. And you put them all together and come almost create a zooming of further where you really understand the person. And especially when you look at the chart with their exaltation, debilitation, and placement of the planets, you really understand that what the challenges are and what is a suitable diet for modification of various signs. Number one is a blanket statement of good, clean, healthy, organic, non-GMO diet. And the other is what is more suitable for a given person within that. Same with lifestyle modification. What time they should go to bed, what is the best time for them to eat their foods and calories at different times of the day, what are the most important things that they need to be doing, whether a sitting occupation for a kapha type or an earthy type or someone who has a tendency to gain weight, a sedentary lifestyle is a good vocation for them. So you can gently address those things based upon what their skill sets are. And then the effective stress management. What are the different tools apart from meditation? Sometimes we end up in making it too serious. So it could be selecting the right kind of sleep, the amount of sleep, the activities that you do for fun. All of that you put together, and it will come out like a very precise prescription for that person to know. And that's exactly what I do in my practice, because not only I look at their horoscope, but I look at that person, look at their history, look at their job, look at their everyday routine, and then give them little pearls to add. And slowly I work with them, and in few months we see huge changes that are happening in the way the body is feeling. From an Ayurvedic perspective, we look food as information, and this lovely goddess who is here is goddess Annapurna. Annapurna is something considered to be the goddess of food and feeding, and Adi Shankaracharya wrote a very beautiful chant on Annapurna Devi. And if you get a chance to listen to that, it's very poetic, very beautiful. Because the premise of understanding Annapurna is Annapurne Sadapurne Shankara Pranavallabhe Jnana Vairagya Siddhyartham Bhiksham Dehi Cha Parvati. Mata Cha Parvati Devi Pita Devo Maheshwara Bandhava Shiva Bhaktyam Cha Swadesho Bhuvanatrayam. So this concept of jnana and vairagya from food, because food is not only what you eat, anything that we take in, ingest, that is called as ahara, to take it in. And that's why it is referred as Brahman. It's as if you are performing a yajna and you're offering to the food to the sacred fire in your body. And what you take in air, you take in water, you take in food, emotions, information, thought. So diet is something that is refined in Ayurveda as what you take in from any field of perception, from any mode of intellect, that is diet. So it's not only what is in your plate, that is just 1/5 of your diet. What you touch, what you smell, what you hear, what you feel, what you experience is all a form of diet. So when we say you should follow a sattvic diet and lifestyle, it means you're looking at your collective experience, whether it is of that kind. And there's a lot of debate about what are considered to be good foods. And it's very simple. Superfoods, that's the term that is coined by National Institute of Health now. It is often referred as two simple criteria. One is made in nature, made by nature. These are God-made foods, not man-made foods. When you're using pharmacy, which is FARMACY, which is made in grown by Mother Nature, because those foods are power packed with nutrients, bioflavonoids, fiber, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals. They have a very high ORAC value, which is oxygen radical absorbance capacity, which is very potent antioxidant, and it is measured by a score called as ANDI score. It's an aggregate of nutrition density index. So how much nutritious that food is, there's an index that you can create, how dense the nutrition is. So if you open a package or a pill or a tablet or a supplement, compared to that with an orange or an apple or parsley or radish, because it's greater bioavailable. This is the food, when it is made in by nature, it is ingested and the body knows exactly what to do. It has the ability to recycle it properly, absorb the nutrients, take it in. These foods are intelligent. It means they'll go to your eyes and give what it needs. It'll go to your hair, give it what it needs. It'll go to your bones. It'll go to your flesh. It'll go to your liver. And they do all the things at once. Those are intelligent foods. You don't even have to tell them where to go and what to do. The body doesn't have to spend a whole lot of energy to digest and assimilate those foods because they're readily bioavailable. It has to be organic, what you eat, most of the time. Non-GMO, because if it is genetically modified, it will modify your genes in your system as well. You have to eat in season. So when you go to the local farmers market, locavore is a term that we use. If you are using local farmer market, you know exactly what is in season, and God wants you to eat those foods in those seasons at that time. Now we are moving from summer to fall, so we are about to make some changes in what we are eating. So you see these pumpkins at every doorsteps. Those are the grounding warm food that you should be eating hereafter. Seasonal variations for seasonal needs. The food has to be lively. It has to be alive. It should keep you alive. It should keep you vibrant. It should have the prana and it should nourish the prana, or mana in Hawaiian they call it, or chi as you call it. If you're eating light, if you're eating right, you will become bright. There's no rocket science to this. So this is a generalized blanket statement. We would say that you should be eating good, clean foods, mostly plant-based, ideally. If you end up in eating a little bit of milk or yogurt or ghee, that's fine. But digestibility is even more important. There's an interesting saying in Ayurveda that to eat is human, but to digest is divine. So no matter what you eat, whether you can really convert and assimilate that food, that is important. And then you create a little variation based upon the Vata, Pitta, Kapha type, what they have. You can use specific taste, like Vata responds very well to sweet, sour, and salty taste. Pitta responds very well to sweet, bitter, and astringent taste. And Kapha responds very well to Kapha, pungent, astringent, and bitter taste. So if you want to really balance the doshas, you can select the taste in order to counterbalance those things. And you can learn a little bit easily. There's a lot of information about Ayurvedic books everywhere, but you can create, number one, awareness towards healthier food, and number two, within that, what are the things that you can make. The key words here, which I would like to give you for anyone Vata with an airy, ungrounded signs that you're talking about. Okay, so something which is more movable signs as well as dual signs. You want to give more vata balancing, nourishing, good quality fats, unctuous food which is slightly oily, warming, cooked foods. Cooked foods are easier on digestion. Taste predominantly sweet and salty, and the ultimate effect of that food has to be grounding. For pitta, it could be fiery signs that you're talking about. It could be even fixed signs, some of those which have more pitta component to it. But you can go to more of a cooling quality, more bitter greens, slightly oily, not too oily, less spicy, because hurry, worry, and curry will increase pitta. So you want to eat a little bit less hot and less spicy. Juicy, something which is more good quality of bitter green juices, crunchy. Those are the good qualities of raw vegetables, your crunching baby carrots or celery sticks. Those are good foods for them. Even salads, it's really good for pitta body type to reduce heat and inflammation. The taste is bitter and astringent. Astringent dries out the moisture. Bitter is one of the best things to cool down the liver, and it's a very therapeutic taste. heavy is the quality, to ground the pitta quality. And kapha, we often talk about cleansing, less grains, dry, hot and spicy foods, eating less, pungent and bitter taste, and something that makes you light. So earthy signs, watery signs, signs which are more of fixed signs, you can actually use a kaphagenic diet for those qualities itself. And why we are doing this? Because we understand that what you eat, how you digest is exactly how your brain behaves. No matter what the Jyotish chart you have, because if your gut-brain axis is messed up, if you're craving bad food, if you're carrying a lot of dysbiosis, which is gut-related toxicity in the system, it can influence your weight gain, bowel movements, nutrient delivery, absorptions, microbiome balance in your gut or large intestine. And in turn, it affects your brain. It actually affects your neurotransmitters. It makes you anxious. It makes you depressed. It makes you more stressful and anxious. And it alters your mood and behavior. So you clean up their diet and their anxiety goes down. If you do it in the name of Saturn and Rahu all the time, it may not help. If you give them advice about cleaning up their diet, eating the right foods, having a good well-formed bowel movement, and then slowly it'll start regulating not only their gut, but also their brain and mind. And you as the counselor, you have every right to tell them and talk to them about the food, how often they eat, what kind of restaurants they're eating, what are the times of the day they are eating. Because there's a different connection between prana and apana. If the apana is blocked, which is the downward, outward moving vata, then the prana will be affected. Because as we know, the human body is like a tree upside down. In Bhagavad Gita, it says, Urdhva Moolam Adhashakha. So the roots are above and the branches are below. So if you take good care of your gut, it will regulate not only the physical ama, but the mental ama, the emotional toxicity that you're talking about. Vishada, which is almost a feeling of dullness and depression, which can lead to a lot of emotional problems. And especially in Jyotish, we see a lot of clients feeling emotionally a lot of happy, unhappy, restless, worried, tense, depressed. And I think it's a good idea to use the right kind of herb, blood cleansers, improving lymphatic circulation, regulation, using Agni, which is kindling their digestive fire, which creates illumination, which creates an enlightening experience. And even gentle amount of fasting. There's a lot of research that talks about good quality fasting has gene regulatory benefit and actually regulates your brain more so than eating food. So you have every right to tell people about correcting their diet and looking at their diet closely and making some broad changes and suggestions in diet. And I promise you, this will be even more effective than any mantra that you will recommend or any gemstone that you will recommend or any ritual or puja or yajna or havan that you will recommend. Because not only what they're making choices, how they feel, how they stick to those things, and the way you feel is exactly the kind of life you attract. So if you can clean up their diet, that's very important. And then, of course, eating rituals, sadhana, as we talked. Eating according to your digestive fire, eating at the right time, understanding your dosha, seeing maybe an Ayurvedic doctor and understand what is to be done. Eating only 3 meals a day, ideally. It has to be rainbow colored, colorful fruits, vegetables comprising of all the 6 tastes. Eating foods that are pure and sattvic, always eating with previous meal digested, setting out specific time, not eating when you're angry or unhappy, always sitting down to eat, try to feed someone before you eat. At least close your eyes for a few minutes and be thankful for the food that you're eating. Have a little sankalpa. Don't eat too fast, don't eat too slow, chewing your foods with no distraction that you're eating, and encourage them to a gentle amount of fasting, because fasting has been used in all ancient cultures. Abstinence from food for spiritual breakthrough. The Sanskrit word for this is upavasa, being close to your own self. abstinence from any form of gratification for a period of time to actually have willpower and discipline for a greater spiritual purpose. And you can try fasting, staying away from food for a short amount of time, 24 hours, 8 hours, 13 hours, sex, alcohol, coffee, certain foods that you can eliminate, that I'll stay away from gluten, I'll stay away from dairy, I'll stay away from certain foods, social media, electronics. Fasting is like a reset button that actually makes you feel in control of yourself for the entire physiology. And therapeutic fasting is not a mystical or magical cure. It has a lot of scientific basis to this. It works because the body has the capacity to heal itself, giving itself some time to rest, recuperate, and heal. I think this is something that we can even have a complete special webinar just on this topic itself. So as we talk about diet, your job is to motivate people towards exercising because the body needs movement. You need to optimize circulation. It's the endocannabinoid system, the endorphins that you create, which is the most potent antidepressant that you can create, is created in the body when you're exercising because it makes you healthy and makes you create a feeling of fitness, manages your body weight, giving more strength and stamina and energy, improves your libido, sexual desire. The longer you feel healthier with good sexual feeling and desire and sexual performance, the happier you're going to be. Improving your alertness, moods, cognition, concentration. And numerous studies have been published, especially children, middle-aged people with ADD, ADHD. Adding an exercise component, that whole shady diagnosis simply goes away. Improving your mood, cultivating a positive attitude. Exercise actually makes you optimistic and positive. And you're pleasantly tired, so you sleep better. You fall easily asleep and you wake up easily. Delays the aging process. And I think it's a phenomenal research that came out, talks about the changes that you do in your heart muscle, in your brain functioning. It's the right and left part of the body when you're walking, regulates the right and left hemisphere of the brain. You talk about yoga, you talk about alternate nostril breathing, doing exercise one side, then the other side, you talk about swimming, you talk about walking, you talk about running. All of this is a perfect science to improve the quality as well as quantity of your life. 30 minutes of exercise every day reduces dementia by 30%, reduces the chances of you having a hip fracture by 68%, depression by 30%, all causes of death and mortality by 30%. Cardiovascular efficiency improves. The control of your type 2 diabetes, chances of colon cancer is reduced, chances of breast cancer is reduced. So if this would be a drug, it would be $1 billion drug. It doesn't cost you anything. You can do this no matter where you are. It's just putting your walking shoes, going out for a brisk walk for 30 minutes every day, ideally in the morning. But what is more important is that cultivating this habit, because it's not doing it once in a while, doing it 7 days a week, sticking to it. As you are eating well, as you're exercising, your whole outlook toward life, I promise you, will be completely different. Because we're talking about reduction in mortality risk significantly. If you are not doing exercise, this is where you are. If you are 20-minute walking every day, you're in the green zone. If you're walking and running to a brisk walk, running maybe a 10-minute mile or doing physical activity close to that, it's even better because you're improving the quality of your life by about 39% when you're doing 420 to 700 minutes per week. If you do only 135 to 240 a week, it's also significantly beneficial. So you're talking about improving the lifespan by adding 20-30 minutes of physical exercise. And if you add more diverse quality, we often tell people to walk about 10,000 steps each day, no matter what, rain or shine. 10,000 steps. If you have a smartwatch, Fitbit, Apple Watch, walk 10,000 steps a day. It will improve the quality and the quantity of your life. When we do yoga, it's even more powerful. Postures, breathing, relaxation, meditation, it's all built in together. That's what yoga is. Yoga is this theory of everything that you're doing together. You're doing postures, but you're breathing in, breathing out. You're relaxing one part of the body with the upper to the lower, to the right, to the left, and you're cultivating a mindful meditation during that time. So what happens is, it's the mind-body awareness. You're mindful, your attention is improved, your concentration, cognition, everything gets better. And then in turn, you are doing self-regulation with self-awareness. Your emotional regulation, stress regulation, resiliency, and you're rating how good you feel about yourself improves. And no matter physical fitness, flexibility, strength, balance, coordination, hand-eye coordination, depth perception, respiratory integration, physical self-esteem, means anybody, any wise person should emphasis on doing a 30-minute exercise. If you can go to a yoga studio, do it in a group. If not, then learn how to do sun salutations and do 12 sun salutations every day. That should be enough. And I've seen this and I've recommended this to many people to do it 12 sun salutations to regulate your Jyotish chart. 12 zodiac signs that you're talking about, you're regulating all the transits all at once with just the awareness. Sun is the center of the solar system. So invoking a Gayatri mantra, even though you don't have to practice all the 12 solar mantras that you talk about, just having a Gayatri mantra before you do sun salutes and Gayatri mantra after you do sun salute, together it might take less than 5 minutes. But astrologically, it's much better than giving someone a chant, a rosary bead, and doing something than having them do sun salutations. Learn them, modify them to the best of their ability. Because behaviors, mental state, health, and performance, everything gets better. Mood, well-being, psychological disorders, positive behaviors, everything improves and goes down. So I can't talk enough about this. We talked about diet, we talked about exercise and sleep. That is the miracle drug, because sleep is the most potent anti-inflammatory activity that you will ever do. It's the most efficient way of improving your health. It eliminates toxins when you're sleeping. It restores the order from chaos. It does a lot of renewal and repair in the night. It boosts and regulates your immunity because you have to sleep in the right time. From 11 to 6, you should be asleep. It reprograms your memory, does a lot of unconscious processing, solidify everything that you have learned, helps you think clearly, prevents dementia, Alzheimer's. It reduces neuroinflammation, as we call it, reduces the changes in weight, reduces the risk of type 2 diabetes and risk of death. Because in Ayurvedic literature, there's a shloka from Charaka, but it sounds poetic. It says whether you're going to be sukha or dukkha, whether you're going to be happy or unhappy, whether you're going to be overweight or underweight, whether you're going to have good physical strength or not so good physical strength, whether you're going to be potent sexually or impotent, whether you're going to be knowledgeable or you will turn out to be dumb and having less focus and concentration, whether you're going to live, stay alive and live well, or you're moving close towards your fatality. It's all depend upon sleep. So when we read Charaka, it sounds very poetic. When you look at the recent medical science and research, it sounds it is almost validating the same thing. So what I want you to do is when you look at anybody's astrological chart, as you look at their constitution, as you look at their dosha, dhatus, malas, as you identify the weak organs in the srotas, maybe tendency for diseases, you need to look at their state of their mind and slowly add these 3 pillars of health. Because no matter the timing of the disease, their intensity, healing process, all will be influences. Whatever their environments are, whether it's finances, children, job, anything, insecurities will shift significantly, because how they feel in their body is exactly the kind of life they're going to attract. Even improving their relationship, their ability to stay away from unhealthy habits and addictions is important. Because you basically, what you're looking at for diet, sleep, and exercise, you're looking at their physical health and health choices, looking at the lagna. If you look at the moon sign, then you know whether that moon sign is governed by sattva, rajas, or tamas, whether sattva person would naturally lean towards a good, cleaner diet and everything, but not if it'll be difficult. Then you would create some guardrails and create structure for the psycho-emotional balance. If the sun is nice and strong and healthy and happily placed in the chart, then it's perfectly fine. Otherwise, you'll have to give them tools to boost their confidence, boost their self-esteem and willpower. A weak sun, an afflicted sun, will need a lot of buddy system. You'll have to send them to a group yoga class or group sports, or they can't just wake up every morning and go for a run by themselves. But a good, strong solar personality would be able to do that. Many times the afflicted shadow planets of Rahu, Ketu creates addictive personalities. And those are the ones that you will have to make sure that what do they do in the evening so that they don't really create their own happy hour for a very long time, to really take them away somewhere at that time. You have to guide them into steering away, or create satsanga, or create a buddy system so that they don't fall into that trap. And you can do that by just looking at the chart. If someone's Mars is too strong and they're too stubborn and obstinate, and you send them to a 2-mile beach walk or send them to hiking up on the mountaintop or something, it deflates their ego sometimes. Having them spend some time in natural setting outdoors actually soften the egg. It'll funnel to be a more sattvic Mars than more of a rajasic and tamasic Mars. And you can do that by making changes in their everyday lifestyle. Saturn, depending upon its placement, what it is doing, the obstacles, how you look at those things, and you have to probably give them hope. So there's nothing you can do during these times when you are stuck with the transit where it is. What you can do is, these are the objective things: making changes in the diet which are not adding to your depression, any addictions which are not making your depression even worse, or eating foods that is clogging the channels and making you even more uh, feel stagnant or dull. Same with Mercury. Sometimes if it is comfortably placed, then you are knowledgeable and you make the right choices. But sometimes it can be ignorant. It can create a lack of intelligence and indecisive quality to it. And the purpose is to guide them gently, nudge them toward that. Afflicted Venus can also create the same situation. Same with Jupiter sometimes. It's difficult for people to meditate. And it's not everybody's cup of tea to go to a meditative event or retreat or ritual or yajna or puja. So you need to create a different structure, achieving almost the same benefit that you want to do. Because from an Ayurvedic astrological perspective, we all understand that the planets have their qualities to it. And understanding those qualities and then creating a lifestyle supporting that. We call it diet and lifestyle which is supportive to your Vata type, Pitta type, or Kapha type. But it could be a Vata type with an airy rising sign. It could be a Vata type, could be a dual sign that they are born with. So there's a little variation within that. And once you put them together on a spectrum scale, then you can come up with a template. Because what we know is these planets also affect certain areas in their brain, their emotions, their ability to have the courage or the discipline or the willpower. It all depends upon these planets and their correlating areas in the brain, in the neurochemistry, and how their intellect behaves. And you can gently change that. You can make neuronal connections differently by adopting to different ideas of diet and lifestyle. So we often create these new connections in the brain, creating what we call it as limbic resonance. So they pulsate together, they vibrate together. They keep you motivated to keep on doing those things which are right for you. And you all know these signs. You all know the nature of these signs, of the grahas and the rashis and the nakshatras and the drishtis and the dashas and the aspect. But what is more important is creating a very simple template that is more you can execute. You can actually give them a very specific template, which is this. So if someone is, and there are a few things that I'll give you action items to do. If someone is more of fiery sign, the fire signs we all know are action oriented, strong will, ambition. Their focus is on themselves. They're independent, strong leaders, a bit aggressive and angry. So for Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, you need to create an anti-inflammatory diet and lifestyle. And what does anti-inflammatory diet and lifestyle means? You should be eating foods which are bitter, astringent, light, slightly oily. More importantly, you should stay away from heavy-duty meat. You should stay away from simple starches and carbohydrates. You should be eating high-fiber foods, complex carbohydrates. More importantly, you can allow them to eat fish, but no other heavy meats. Same with lifestyle, helping them to sweat and detox more often, having them to go through a castor oil cleanse more often, doing things where they are drinking bitter green juices, drinking herbal teas with some bitter energetics. So you can create a protocol for these signs, and very quickly they will start responding to this very well. Early signs, we all know they can be grounded, they can be stable, they can be a little bit more fixated. They have a strong sense of form, good capacity to work. But what you need to do is you need to give them energetic movement. You need to keep them active. You need to give them a stand-up desk in their workplace. You need to have them walk or take stairs as often as they can in their workplace. You give them food which is nutritious, which is filled with nutrient density. So hollow, empty calories can be completely removed from their diet. So they are moving and they are eating well, so they will have even a better quality of their earth sign, where they will be strong in their skill sets which are good for them, and they will veer off the unwanted dullness or heaviness that it brings. Aries signs, we all know, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, they are versatile, they're adaptable, they can be too communicative. They talk too much, they move too much. Sometimes it's a fleeting state of their mind and body both. Sometimes it's a state of confusion. So you give them a state of grounding foods, food that are cooked, complex grains, brown rice, quinoa, root vegetables, yams, beets, any food that is grounding, cooked, warm, good quality oils, flax oil, sesame oil, ghee. Diet that is warming, cooked, and precipitating relaxation, creating mindful meditative techniques, creating some state of deeper quality sleep every night, giving them an oil massage before sleep in the night, or having them do a hot shower or a bath before they go to sleep will ground them. Same with watery signs. Watery signs can be emotional, can be instinctive. They are loving and affectionate, but sometimes it is too much of water and fluid retentive qualities. Staying away from too much of salt, which is a good suggestion for them, because then they don't accumulate a lot of water. And you encourage them sweating. You make them bend, twist, turn in a heated room, or send them to a sauna, or make them do more cardio. Energizing activity. An alkaline diet, which is not acidic but alkaline diet, eating bitter, green, leafy greens, juices of that kind, that will simply shift how these signs feel. If they are movable ones, then you need to cultivate relaxation. Various modes during the day. It's not only meditation. Various ways of even a minute of breathing, taking 3 deep breaths 20 times a day. You can create a template where the movable signs can feel calm and relaxed more often. Just going inward, connecting the dots so that they don't feel impatient and scattered. So just with one buzzword of relaxation, you can create a whole diet and lifestyle template that they can do. You need to understand what their lifestyle looks like and what you're going to do with them. The fixed signs, they need stimulation. So you need to stimulate them because they can be static and stable sometimes. And you need to make them move. You make them jump. You give them vigorous breathing exercise 10 times a day. You make them take steps, stairs, up and down. You give them a standing desk. You create activities which is constantly stimulating them. You add some simple spices onto their food, pungent, bitter, astringent foods, which is stimulating, which is more light, opposite to grounded. Dual signs, you can create a restful invigoration like yoga. And mindful restful invigoration where you are relaxing and calming at the same time. You are stimulating and calming at the same time. You're using the right as well as the left part of the body at the same time. So you want to create templates based on these various body types where you can really help them understand. But what I'm trying to share with all of you here today is if you do follow the recommendations and guidance of diet, sleep, and exercise based upon your astrological chart, I think it will simply change your life. And more importantly, it'll give you the strength to deal with the current challenges that you're having. And these are some simple ways to boost your innate immunity. Eating foods which are fresh, alive, vibrant, colorful, fruits, vegetables, rainbow color food, good quality nuts, seeds, sprouts, raw oils, eating less, eating right, chewing well, drinking plenty of pure water. If you can drink hot water all day long, I'll be proud of you. Incorporating pranayama and meditation, at least 20 minutes of that twice a day, 30 minutes of brisk physical exercise every day, staying away from compulsive habit. You can do it once in a while, but that should not be a part of your everyday routine. Learning to observe yourself in a detached manner, dispassionate detachment, having a spiritual outlook, trying to do something good every day, compliment someone, sweet words, deeds, positive affirmation, treating your body like a temple, not trash. Seasonal cleanses. This is a great time of the year to do a cleanse. I recently wrote a book on Panchakarma, which is an excellent book about how to do a few things on your own. Doing a Panchakarma or going to a place where you can do a 1-week detox yourself. Taking vacation, which is helping you to slow down the pace of life, not increase it further. Try to learn something new. What you're doing is perfect. You're trying to learn something new because it stimulates your brain. Fun, laughter, getting ample rest. And at the end of the day, not forgetting fun, not making sure that you're happy. Whatever you do is cultivating the end result leads to happiness. Not momentary pleasure we are talking about. Ultimately, what makes you happy? If that becomes a state of mind, that is the first step towards self-realization and enlightenment. So lead an enlightened lifestyle. I wish you all the best. Namaste. Thank you.
Dr. Suhas, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
That was really valuable. So many good tips. I took dozens of photos on my phone of your slides. Thank you so much. These seem like, really, these are really actionable items, aren't they? I mean, any of those things that you suggested, we can certainly do.
I don't think you need to be bogged down that you don't know enough about food. As if you're telling someone like your friend that these are good foods and you should, especially in your chart, you should be staying away from these kind of foods and make sure that you eat these kind of good, clean, pure foods.
Yes, and yes, everything you mentioned is, it's common sense, but we definitely need reminding these days because especially I think maybe as Westerners or Americans, we do get sidetracked and forget to get to sleep before the doshas change or whatever the terminology is, and there is so much rushing around and fast food and but what you've suggested, I think, actually gives us permission to take good care of ourselves with the intended result to be content. So
No,
So
in my clinical experience is if you're already having a tamasic inclination, if your chart is pointing toward a little bit dull, heavy stagnation, and if that is the choices they keep on making, they're going to continue to feel that way. If you bring some changes in suggesting them more so than changing the diet and lifestyle, then the intensity of whatever they are going through planetary wise is going to go down significantly.
yes, sir. So I'm just taking a quick look. I don't, Ram Das, Bill, are you still on board here with us?
Yes.
I'm not sure about these questions here.
It seems like there was only one question that came up. Someone asked about which houses you're looking at in the chart. Do you include the Lagna, the 6th, 8th, and 12th also, or what do you really focus on?
We're looking at the first house, which is Lagna, and we are looking at the Rashi, which is the moon sign, where the moon is placed in which Rashi. Those are the only two houses that we look at. And then for assessing the fixed, the elemental sign, whether it's air, earth, or fire, we look everything from Lagna itself.
Great. And he also asked a question about, are there any subcharts you look at, or do you just stay with the Rashi chart?
So those are the basic templates that we look at. We do look at specifically for a disease, if they're talking about that they're having a disease on top of that, that's when we look at those things. But more or less people who are routinely looking and they're most of the time healthy, we just look everything from the birth chart itself. The divisional charts only if needed, we use based upon their conditions. But for this health and wellness consultation, we just use their basic birth chart.
That's great news, just for me personally. Good to hear. The other question I would have for you is, which one of your books would you say, is there one that this presentation reflects most clearly that would have more information about it? If we were really looking to do this, which one of your books would you recommend?
I would recommend the new one, which is Change Your Schedule, Change Your Life. It actually talks about how to synchronize your rhythms, about what you eat, when you exercise, when you sleep, and the impact of all of that and the research. I think that's a good book. But in the other book of Vedic Counselling, we have mentioned all of these and integrated that together with a counseling template.
Great.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. There's many, many compliments here, just so that you know, people really seem to enjoy this. So thank you very much.
And we'll do it again sometime. Thank you.
Oh, I hope so. Well, again, Dr. Suhas, thank you so much for the investment of your time with us on a beautiful Sunday. And please take good care of your own health and that of your family, and until we meet again. So, okay, thanks everybody.